whether or not, because Pep said that it's harder to win the Premier League than the Champions League. This is in response to that. Danny says 100% agree. You can finish, right, stay with us. It gets a bit complicated, Paul.
Oh, here we go.
You can finish 5th or 6th in the Prem, but win Champions League by winning 6 games at home 1-0, but lose away 6 times 2-1, then winning a final on penalties may be a bit of luck. The Prem is 38 games of consistency. City have done that this year, so fair play to them. And that's a United fan.
Very good. United fan?
Yes.
Wow.
Apparently. So, do you think he has a point? It's harder to win the league than the Champions League? Because it's 38 games?
Nope.
Why?
Because, look, I get his drift, I get where he's coming from. But I feel as you get to the sharp end of the Champions League, it is so difficult. Look at the quality of football that we've seen over the last couple of weeks. It's been fantastic. It's been mouth-watering for everybody.
Oh.
A big club, and also because tactically, and we've seen it this season, at times he has an edge over other managers, even over Pep Guardiola in that second half at the Etihad, for example. So of course he's still one of the top managers.
Go on, Jules. Go on, Jules.
Sorry. Yeah, no. But yeah, that's exactly my point. You know, that's the problem I have with Mourinho. He lives too much in the past, though, and it's a bit like Arsene Wenger. At some point, you have to move on. You have to reinvent yourself as a manager, I think, and don't keep doing the things that you were doing before that made you successful, but are not making you successful anymore. Like parking the bus, for example. And I'm not sure if Mourinho has that in him to change a little bit his philosophy and his ideas, his methods, to get successful again like he used to be before.
You could do that, Paul? Remind everyone of your FA Cup success. UEFA Cup. Is it you won the FA Cup and the UEFA Cup? Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Which was most important?
To me?
Yes.
The 81 team, the UEFA Cup. This week against West Bromwich Albion, they were absolutely atrocious. What's the one strength that Albion's got? Aerial duels. So what do you need to do? You need to get it out wide and get it in the box, right? Look at the team that he picked. Juan Mata, I mean, he loves to come inside, so you're playing into their strengths. So tactically, that's a little concerning with Mourinho. He's got the lads on the bench. And what sort of preparation did he do in training to break down this West Brom side? Oh. Didn't seem like much.
Oh, West Brom. Tactical analysis from Paul.
My thing with Mourinho is I think he's good at stifling the opposition, setting up his teams tactically to negate what the opposition is doing, and he doesn't, in my opinion, on enough occasions, just let his teams go out and play.
Did you tell him that when you interviewed him a couple of years ago?
I tried to, but he kept talking about how many titles he won.
Yeah, that was it.
I was trying to tell him.
As you do.
Let's talk Griezmann to finish off, shall we? Must the FC Barcelona buy Antoine Griezmann? Is he worth 100 million euros? Of course he is. My goodness.
He's unbelievable.
Jules?
Yeah, of course he is. I think 100 million euros for a player like him, that's his release clause, so he can't go higher than that. I think it's almost a bargain in this day and age. And I think not just Barcelona, if they think they can accommodate all those attacking players that they have, but Real Madrid and other big clubs in Europe should go for him.
No, Brad.
Decent.
Decent. I mean, they'll be queuing up. 100 million euros. Oh. No brainer.
And we're hearing breaking news in France. Monaco are going to reimburse their travelling fans. Do they have many travelling fans? They don't really have their own fans, do they? for making the trip to Paris.
So that'll be very expensive then.
What was your worst away defeat?
I conceded 7 already.
Where did you concede 7?
I think it might have been at Goodison, you know.
Oh, really? Who was scoring? Who was there back in the day then? Who was-
Duncan Ferguson.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. I remember 2 successive away trips.
Yep.
He conceded 7 at Goodison and 5 at Blackburn. Conceded 12 goals at 2 successive away trips. That's a lot of goals.
Is that when Blackburn in the Premier League?
What kind of question is that?
Well, because it's interesting to me.
Was it?
Was it in the Pub League or the Prem?
The Premier League.
Was that with Pompey?
No, with West Ham.
Really?
Under Pardew.
Was that when you're Hammer of the Year?
No. It was, I think that was under. Was that under Pardew?
I had-
That might have been under
What's your
Pardew.
worst defeat, Paul?
Two most embarrassing. One, Portsmouth Southampton, the derby.
Yeah.
I was assigned by the great Alan Ball.
Yeah, Bally.
He said, Maris, he said,
His voice was much higher than
I
that.
want you to play centre half. I said, well, I'm not really playing a lot of centre half. And we conceded 6. The lad who was playing against scored 3. So that was the end of my central.
Right.
That was pretty bad. Then the other one was, I think I can tell this now. We're at Ipswich, we're absolutely flying. And the lads in the team, they loved a bet. So we all piled on.
Uh-oh.
And we're playing Stoke City. And it was a bit like United and West Brom today. We should go up there, just
Sure.
pummel them. They did us 1-0, they beat us 1-0. So we'll go back into the dressing room afterwards. So Gaffer, Sir Bobby Robson, he's up there. He said, he's really giving it to us big time, innit? And he thinks that all the players are really upset. But what we're upset about is all the dough that we lost from the bookies, because if we'd have won, we would have made a right killing.
Oh, I thought you bet on yourselves losing.
No!
That ever.
Proper story. Oh my crikey. 39 matches in La Liga unbeaten, beating the record set by Real Sociedad back in 1980. But they're not really celebrating that in Catalonia. Luis Suarez had this to say after the match: "We knew that the fans were angry after the Champions League elimination, and we were also hurting. Now it feels like winning the league is nothing." A real party pooper, it seems, Jules, after that surprise defeat against Rome, and even this record-breaking streak that Barca are on, of course, going to go on and win La Liga, doesn't seem to make up for it.
Yeah, you're right. It's a strange atmosphere right now. I think at the Camp Nou at Barcelona, they didn't really see that one coming at Roma. I think it must have hurt a lot for them. And okay, there's that record in the league, and maybe back in August when they were thrashed by Real Madrid in the Spanish Super Cup, no one could see them winning the league. So maybe in the end, it would be a good season. They obviously still have the Copa del Rey as well. So it's not all bad and all gloomy. But I think that elimination in the Champions League will hurt for a long time for sure.
What grade would you give Barca? A+ as well, surely, if you give City an A+. Well, they've won the league. They've stormed away with it. Quarter-finals of the Champions League.
As you say, 39 games unbeaten. I mean, it's a fantastic run. But having said that, it seems that the standards are a lot higher over in Barcelona. The players are disappointed. Roma played fantastic tactics against them, so they maybe caught them.
What grade, Mr. Mariner?
You've got to give them an A. You've got to do. I mean, they just trotted up with the league. I mean, and La Liga's. It's a difficult league.
Is Luis Suarez too much in the moment, Shaq? Considering,
Yes, it is.
Jules makes a great point. You think after that Spanish Super Cup, we all pretty much had written Barca off.
Yeah, nobody thought Barcelona were going to win anything at all. Maybe if the lead at the top was a little bit tighter and there was still a lot to play for, you won't feel that much and maybe feel a Champions League exit is a blessing in disguise. But again, this league won a long time ago, so the Champions League exit stings a bit more than it should. I still give them an A+, especially when you consider
You can't give them an A+.
where we started.
You can't give them an A+.
Where
Shaq.
do you
Got lost to
consider
Roma.
where we started?
Manchester City, 16 points clear of United with 5 matches to go. Let's just emphasise how impressive this campaign has been for them. 33 games they've done this. No team has ever done that in the history of the Premier League. It's the second earliest date in which it's been clinched, on April 15th. 18 wins, their longest Premier League history. win streak when you take a look at their run earlier on in the season. Let's bring Julian Laurent into the show. Julian, of course, no surprise that Manchester City clinched it. Maybe slight surprise, and they did it this weekend, considering United were only playing West Brom. But boy, did they deserve it.
Yeah, completely deserve it. They were by far the best team in the Premier League this season. The consistency that they've put in their performances, the intensity, the football that we've seen was outstanding from pretty much the beginning of the season until now. They've had a bit of a dip of form at times. There's that defeat, obviously the only one in the league at Liverpool earlier in the season where they conceded 3 goals in 14 minutes to lose that match. But they've been magnificent really from the start, and they totally deserve it.
It's strange. The icing has been slightly taken off the cake considering what happened, Paul, over the last week regarding the United game and the Liverpool defeat as well.
A little bit.
Overall, what grade would you give them for their season?
Oh, man, it's got to be an A+. I mean, they've been phenomenal. The way that Pep has rotated the squad and been able to rotate the squad with the quality, and the quality that's coming from the bench, you've not really seen any drop-off. That's been one of the keys. I think Jules just said it, the consistency of the squad. You know, they obviously get around each other, they rally each other up. I mean, it epitomised for me at the weekend. We were here on Friday talking about this game being a difficult game for Manchester City against Tottenham. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And it was the way that they went about their business. They were absolutely fantastic in the first half. Just a little wobble at half-time when Tottenham came back in it. But really, it was such a poor one-sided contest. I was disappointed.
But considering they got knocked out the quarterfinals of the Champions League, you can't give them an A+ like him, can you?
No, I give them an A+ for what they brought to the league. In terms of league football, without question, you get an A+. I don't think we've seen a team be this dominant, play this good football, certainly in winning a title, at the very least since the Sir Alex Ferguson days. It has been disappointing what has happened in terms of the Champions League, because you knew this league was won. You knew Manchester City were going to be crowned champions, and then you wanted to see, could they really match it with the big boys? We'd seen the likes of Real Madrid and Barcelona win leagues playing attractive football. We've seen Bayern Munich do it. But as I mentioned, we hadn't seen an English club do it for the last couple of years. So now you wanted to see how Manchester City compared to the European greats, and to go out in the manner that they did against Premier League opposition. And I don't mean that as any kind of disrespect to Liverpool as a club, or exactly how good Liverpool were over the 2 legs, but you just felt that if City were going to go out, it had to be to one of the European giants. In the end, it was a very spirited Liverpool performance, and maybe took a little bit of shine off of what we've come to believe of this City team.
And of course, his second season in charge sees Pep Guardiola leading Manchester City to this record-breaking title. And it's interesting, Jules, you live in England and you take a look at his resume. There was a feeling from some, him going to the Premier League, it's like, all right, yeah, you've done it in other leagues, but now you've got to really prove yourself. We don't really accept you until you win the Prem. And they were more than happy, weren't they, to jump on him, some of his critics, last season after he ended up with no silverware. He surely silenced them this time round.
Yeah, you're right. I still remember at the end of last year, people saying he will never do it here because here is different, because of the way that the opposition plays every single time, because he can't put his football in place in the Premier League. It wouldn't work here. It's so different, blah, 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 blah. He showed them. I mean, I think he's one of the managers who have revolutionized the game, like Arrigo Sacchi, for example. He's one of those who, came and just changed everything. And we saw the way City have played. We've never seen anyone play like this in England ever before. Not even the Wenger Invincibles, not even the great United treble under Ferguson, not even before that Liverpool and Shankly and all of that. No one has never played like that before. That kind of new, incredible football, the positioning, the movement off the ball, on the ball, everything was just so amazing. And I think he showed all the critics especially that he could do it here as well.
You've watched football since it was in black and white, Paul. Is Jules a bit over the top?
With Guardiola and what he's done?
Consider this Manchester City team, that we've never seen anything like this.
Well, you cast your mind back to the Arsenal Invincibles. You cast your mind back to Fergie Scholes' team.
Were they as attractive? Were they as...
I think they were as attractive, yeah, I really do. I think that, it's very difficult to reinvent the wheel with football, but I understand what he's done with this, the total football, building from the back and so on and so forth. But we did see him come unstuck, as Shaq says, against Liverpool, who went in with a high press and they couldn't handle it. So I do think he has, to a certain degree, revolutionised the way that we're looking at football now. Because when we look at Manchester United, when we look at Arsenal, when we look at the also-rans in the Premier League, we're judging them with that level that Guardiola's brought to the Premier League, and that's what we want to see now. So we're saying, okay, yeah, he spent hundreds of millions of pounds, but it's a product on the field. I mean, no, the money's, it's just so ridiculous. There's no real need to bring that into the equation. It's what he's brought to the table, improving players. I think the players that he's signed are getting better and better and better.
In my opinion, I don't think we've seen a team this good. And yes, I do remember Ferguson's teams. I do remember the Invincibles. I think one of the differences, which maybe sets that late 90s team apart, and Sir Alex Ferguson apart to this point, is how he was able to balance what you needed to do in the league and what you needed to do in Europe. And that Pep Guardiola hasn't gotten right just yet. Maybe you have to take your foot off the accelerator a little bit in the league to achieve some of the things that you saw those Manchester United teams do. Until Pep Guardiola can find that balance, I'm still going to give those Manchester United teams, though at their best I feel this is more attractive football, I'm still going to give those Manchester United teams the nudge.
Jules, is this the start of an era now in which we're going to see Manchester City dominate the Premier League?
It will be fascinating to see if it is, to be fair. I think Liverpool, next season with Naby Keita, for example, with a clever recruitment, could push City a bit more than they did this year. Yeah, I think if Van Dijk, for example, had signed for Liverpool in the summer and now in January, I'm sure Liverpool will be much closer to City than they are right now. I think City would have still won the league, but I think Liverpool would have a good push. You could expect maybe Mourinho, United, to strengthen the squad again. Chelsea with a new manager, probably. It'll be interesting to see what they do. So I think there will be more challenges next season for City. And the bar is set so high this year. Imagine if they keep beating records of more points, more goals, etc., etc. The bar will be really, really high next season. But you can expect them to sign couple of players as well and be even stronger next season than this season. So it's just going to be a fascinating season next year as well.
You mentioned those records. Of course, this is what Manchester City can do. 32 wins, 100 points, 107 goals, a goal difference of plus 78. Those will be all records when it comes to Premier League history. Been a strange old week, hasn't it, for City, of course, with that exit in the Champions League. An interesting quote from Pep Guardiola saying that the Premier League is harder to win than the Champions League. We asked you over on Twitter whether you not agree with that. 34% said yes. 66% said no. Julian, where do you stand on this?
I'll have to agree with our viewers and listeners. I like Pep a lot. I don't think the Premier League is harder to win than the Champions League. Okay, you have to be very consistent over the whole season, and it's 38 games, and his argument is saying that you can have one bad game in the Champions League and you're out. But in the Champions League, you play a team far stronger than 90% of the teams you're going to face in the Premier League. So I think all in all, surely the Champions League is still harder to win.
Smoke and mirrors here from Pep. Paul, is he right?
A little bit of smoke and mirrors, but no, he's not right. I think that to win the Champions League is harder. I just feel that I get where he's coming from initially with the start of the Champions League, with the qualification and so on and so forth. But when you get to the sharp end, you just look at the football that has been delivered up over the last few weeks in those quarterfinals. Absolutely sensational football.
What would you prefer to have won back in your day, the League or the European Cup?
Well, the values were different in my day. It was only two competitions. It was three. It was FA Cup, the League, and the Europa League or the European Cup. So, obviously, you always want to win a European Cup, but unfortunately, we didn't do that. But we won.
What part have you taken me down? That was a simple question.
It's not a simple question.
It's a simple question.
It's not a simple question because
do you want to win the league?
Because
or the
it was
European
different in
Cup?
my day. It was different because of the values of each tournament. The FA Cup, the value of the FA Cup nowadays is not what it used to be.
But the league was still the league, and the European Cup was still the European Cup.
And if you were league champions, you went into the Europa League, the European Cup. Sorry. So it's totally different. So the values of each competition.
So you're just not going to give me an answer?
I'll give you an answer, winning the league.
Right, there we go. Goodness gracious me.
But look, you don't understand what I'm
Still
saying,
going.
Danny. You don't understand what I'm saying
I
about
think
the
I do.
value of each tournament.
I think it's very different.
different.
Of course. Shaka, when you were playing, what would you have preferred to have won? The
league.
or the Champions League?
Anything.
Yeah.
Milk Cup?
The league.
Johnson, baby.
The league will always has been and always will be, always should be your bread and butter, and that's what you set out to win.
So
first.
do you agree with Pep? Is it harder to win the league than the
No,
Champions League?
it's a different demand, but no, I think it's harder to win the Champions League.
It was interesting ahead of the clash against Juventus, Zinedine Zidane. He's French, you're French, Jules. Let's go to you, shall we? Talking about this. And he said basically, look, I think it's more important to win La Liga than it is the Champions League. But if you speak to Barcelona fans now, I reckon most of them would trade places with Real Madrid if you ask them.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't really know why Zidane is going that way. Maybe because after 2 winning the Champions League, and albeit winning the La Liga last season as well, let's not forget it, he was a bit bored of the Champions League and he fancied another La Liga. I don't know, and maybe he values a bit more the consistency of winning a league, as an achievement for you as a manager and your team than delivering in the Champions League. I don't know, but I always thought him, of all people, would pick the Champions League over the league.
No, you see, the league is your bread and butter. And that's what I think that's the point that Zidane is trying to make here. I think it's also the fact that there's that big a gap between Real Madrid and Barcelona right now kind of shifts the focus a little bit. If this were tight, if the La Liga race were tight and Barcelona went out as they did in the quarterfinals, you can say, well, we're going to focus on the league now. If you give players the option at this stage, a tight title race, you have to go to the Champions League now, but you're going to win the league. More times than not, I think players take that.
Right then, team of the weekend, Mariner, Marcotti, Nicol, as always, come together, and then this becomes their ultimate 11.
What a fantastic team that is.
How many of your players are in it, Paul? Anyone missing out?
Yes, I didn't have Foster in the goal. I had Karius because I thought he did very, very well.
Karius?
Yeah, I didn't have Hegazi.
Did Bournemouth have any shots?
I had Long, who scored a goal for Burnley.
Did Bournemouth have any shots, Paul?
Who?
Bournemouth?
Yes, they did. and you need to help me out with this name, Milivojevic or something.
The Crystal Palace midfielder.
Fabulous. He had a fantastic game, a key game. He was a key player, had an assist. And other than that...
John Joe Shelby, do you want him to go to Russia, the World Cup?
No, I don't. No. Look, he's had a couple of decent games. And all the English press are piling on saying he's going to be the...
I don't think all the English press. That's a bit of an exaggeration.
Most of the English press.
You just hate Newcastle, that's all it is.
Did you hear the commentators today? They were waxing lyrically about Shelby.
Right.
Not me.
No?
No.
Not a fan?
No. Look, he's all right. He's a player that... He's so inconsistent, and we'll be talking about consistency in top players.
Right.
He's so inconsistent, he'll get you the same.
Jules? Jules, wake up! John Joe Shelby's very interesting. Where do you stand on Team of the Week?
Yeah, no, I'm not his biggest fan. I have to say I agree with Paul. I wouldn't take him to Russia. I don't think he will go. I don't think Southgate will take him. But there's a problem for England in that central midfielder role, though. So that will have to be sorted out.
Love it. Good. Team of the Weekend has taken a bit of a detour down the John Joe Shelby road. Anything you'd like to say about it? Not John Joe Shelby, the team.
No, I'm good, thanks.
Thanks for that, Shaq.
Thank you very much for that, Shaq. Much appreciated. He then took to Twitter and said the chances of going to the World Cup sky high.
Ooh.
Would you want him there?
Absolutely. Why would you not want Zlatan there?
Sweden, if you were the players. The squad, remember, let's not forget, they qualified for the World Cup without Zlatan. They beat Italy without Zlatan.
Right. So wouldn't it be nice to have Zlatan in the squad? Just to maybe come off the bench?
Is that not a custard pie? You can't have Zlatan on the bench. You either start him or
yeah,
you...
he's either playing or not.
Did he not start on the bench for the Galaxy in his first game?
Is that what you're doing? Is that where you're going?
Did he, though?
What? And he just got off the plane 24 hours ago. He had jet lag.
Why wouldn't you want an icon of Swedish football to go with the squad? It'd be a massive G up for the whole country. Come on, man. Surely.
Jules, what do you think?
Paul, I'm sorry, I'm not with you on Ibra. They did it without him. They were very good. They were solid. They were united. They were together. It's a young team. They've got great talent, Forsberg, and maybe they need him. Maybe they would be better with him at the World Cup for the charisma, for everything that he brings to a squad. Maybe. But they've done that without him. Why not him just walking in and saying, "Hey, I'm Ibra. I'm playing again. I'm coming to Russia"? No, I don't think it would be fair on the players who went there.
But Jules, there may be just that one game. If they advance in the competition, there may be just that one game where they go to Plan C or whatever it is, and maybe they just say, like, get the big man on, and he does the business.
Get the big man on. Why is he always on the bench? Is it Zlatan? He's either starting or he's not.
Because I'm listening to what Jules says and about the atmosphere in the squad. You don't want to upset the apple cart. That's what you've got to factor in if you're the coach, if you're going to take him. But if you do take him, and I propose that you do take him, that is Plan C, fantastic. Get the big lad on.
What do you propose, Shaka?
No, I'm not taking him. First of all, I don't see Zlatan coming off the bench.
Oh.
And if I'm part of the Swedish squad going to this World Cup, we qualified without him. No, I'm happy. I'm happy to be at the tournament without him as well. The only circumstance that I, as a squad member or starting player for Sweden, I accept Zlatan coming back into the squad, is if his inclusion means the difference between us winning the tournament and not. And with him or without him, they aren't. So as a result, I go with the squad that got us there.
We thought after that second half performance at the Etihad, maybe United had turned the corner. Maybe they'd found something. Paul Pogba, of course, sensational in that second half. He was not today. He was dreadful. Dragged off after 57 minutes. Mourinho had this to say about it. I wanted to give more width, and Paul had a yellow card. And before the substitution, he had a situation not for a second yellow card, but we never know in football. He continued to say the way the referees react, and Paul's game was complicated like many others. This was weird today, Jules, because it felt it was all set up for United to go out there and put 5 or 6 past West Brom and start thinking about next season and start building towards that, and of course keep the momentum going ahead of their FA Cup semi-final. Yet all the positives that they gained after that victory against City are all pretty much now down the toilet, aren't they?
Yeah, it was weird. It was very disappointing the way they played. They just had no creativity, no ideas. It looked like they didn't even really fancy it, and they were in the end punished and handed the title back to City. Really, after what they did last week at the Etihad, should have never been that way. I mean, Pogba being the scapegoat again.
But Jules, that's not quite right, is it? Obviously, Paul Pogba is the one who's going to be getting the attention because he was subbed off. But he was deservedly subbed off. He could have been sent off. And we talk about momentum, and he just didn't find. He was missing. Paul Pogba was missing once again against West Brom.
But so was Alexis Sanchez, and so was Romelu Lukaku, and so was so many as well. So it's not just Paul Pogba. And I understand after what he did against City, and Mourinho in the week talking about the consistency that Pogba has to show. And I'm the first one to say, as much as I love him, he lacks that consistency this season, and that's just not good enough. But I thought today, I was not convinced by the substitution at all. I think Mourinho could have subbed everyone at half-time, to be fair, because he was so poor from United. He was really poor, and just Pogba paid the price.
So, sorry, just one last point. Why Pogba every time?
I still don't think everything is sorted between them two. I know they were best friends last week after what happened at the Etihad, and that, Jose spoke quite highly of him after the game. Obviously, he had to, really, but I still don't think it's all sorted between them. I think there's still tensions. There's still probably a lot of aggro, I think, between them two, and I'm still not sure that Pogba and Mourinho really see eye to eye, and for me, it's still an issue, and it will be an issue next season if they don't sort out somehow.
The thing for me is, and Jules says, speaking about Paul Pogba's inconsistency, Manchester United have been inconsistent throughout the course of this season, in my opinion. When you think back to Manchester United's first 7 games of the season, where they simply blew everybody out of the water, and then they go and lose at home to Huddersfield, I think it was, and then you see Mourinho go back into into his comfort zone and do the things that he knows how to do well, which is just grind out results.
But
and
they just beat City 3-2.
yes, but again, all of a sudden you see the exciting, and then you follow up with what, in my opinion, rather ridiculous. Another difference between this game against West Brom and City, for me, is one of motivation. And I put this down to the players. You're motivated against City, and people spoke about Jose Mourinho's halftime team talk, about not being the party clowns on the day. And then all of a sudden, you're faced with a West Brom. You're going to finish second. Liverpool aren't going to catch you. You aren't catching Manchester City. Your season is now coming down to what happens in the FA Cup. And it's hard for the players to get motivated in that instance. So for once, and as critical as I've been of Jose Mourinho, of Manchester United, and everybody associated, for once I could understand the lack of motivation against West Brom.
I don't agree at all with Jack. I think it's all down to professionalism. Now, who gets the team ready? The coach gets the team ready. He's got to warn them about the pitfalls. It's West Bromwich Albion that are coming into town. They're useless. If you come out of the blocks with what you've got, you can blow them away. As we said on Friday, they should have blown this team away in 30 minutes. Then you can bring all your subs and do whatever. But it's up to Mourinho to point out the pitfalls of coming in with a lackadaisical attitude, which is what they did. What about his team selection? Mata and Sanchez are out wide. The service wasn't... They didn't get any weight. They played right into the hands of West Bromwich Albion because they were going through the middle. So who's going to take the blame here? I think everybody has some part of the blame to take here, because that is unprofessional, it's unacceptable, and all the fans were leaving Old Trafford. I mean, they couldn't wait to get in the cars.
The shortlist was made today of the Player of the Year: Kevin De Bruyne, De Gea, Harry Kane, Mohamed Salah, Leroy Sané and David Silva. I imagine, gentlemen, everyone going for Salah?
Let me think. Yeah.
Yes. Meanwhile, our producer is very angry at the fact that Harry Kane is in the Young Player of the Year shortlist. You had to be 23 at the start of the season, which Kane was. He's joined by Edison, Rashford, Sané, Sessegnon and Raheem Sterling. Who do you give Young Player of the Year to?
Sané for me.
Yeah.
Leroy Sané.
I think he's going to be... I mean, we used to have a spat about Kevin De Bruyne. I wasn't particularly a fan of Kevin De Bruyne. Now you've brought me around to your way of thinking a little bit, Danny.
Yeah, it's all me.
This kid Sané, when he gets the ball, he's phenomenal. I mean, his pace, his dribbling ability, his eye for a pass. I just think that eventually this kid could be an absolute superstar.
Ahead of Kane, you'd have him?
Well, I'm a bit...
That was a funny face.
No, I'm a bit conflicted with Harold being in the Young Player of the Year. And I know the rules about under 23.
No, it's just this is a simple question: Sané or Kane?
For the Young Player of the Year?
No, just in life.
Well, Harry had a bit of a nightmare at the weekend against City, but I'd go with Harry Kane.
So then he should be Young Player of the Year?
Oh, shut up.
No, well, that's life. You're talking about life. We're talking about this season.
What?
I have an issue with Harry being in both camps. Either it's the senior player or the junior player. And I know this ridiculous rule that you told me.
There's the rules.
Listen, Sané. It's a Young Player of the Year. It's not who would you have as your number 9.
Don't worry, Ember. In life.